A year to remember, a scene to remember. Sir Francis Chichester was almost home. A welcoming armada went out from Plymouth to greet the hero who had sailed round the world in a small boat, Gipsy Moth. It was one of those truly great events of 1967. On September 20th at Clydebank, Britain's newest liner was launched. At last, the big secret was out. She was to bear the name Queen Elizabeth II. It was a fine tribute to Her Majesty who performed the launching ceremony. The new Queen of the Seas was a proud sight. But for millions of Britain's Roman Catholics, a day in May will be the most memorable of the year, for it marked the consecration of Liverpool's Metropolitan Cathedral of Christ the King. From all over the world came representatives of the Catholic faith for the magnificent occasion. It was also a time for Britain to greet other overseas visitors. King Faisal of Saudi Arabia was one. With the Queen, His Majesty drove to Hyde Park for one of the high spots of his state visit, the review of the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. Another VIP visitor was Russian Prime Minister Mr. Kosygin. He made a short official stopover for talks with Mr. Wilson. On the agenda was an increase in Anglo-Russian trade and the problems of peace in Vietnam. Trade has improved, but the war still continues. In Iran, 1967 will always be a very special year. The Shah had, after 26 years, ascended the fabled peacock throne and crowned himself King of Kings. What a magnificent occasion. Queen Farah, the first woman in 2,500 years of Persian monarchy ever to be crowned, was both beautiful and magnificent. For 7-year-old Prince Reza, this day will surely be firmly fixed in his memory, as it will for the millions of Iranians who celebrated the coronation. From the glittering streets of Tehran, back to a London scene of pageantry. Arriving in the great gilded state coach at the Royal Courts of Justice was London's 640th Lord Mayor, Sir Gilbert Inglefield. As Sir Gilbert entered the law courts to take his oath of office, Londoners accepted his invitation to come and have fun. Theme of the show was the role of the city as a patron of the arts. The procession was more than a mile long. Carnivals and pretty girls go together. So do Royal Ascot and lovely women. For at this ritzy race meeting, men take second place and horses are hardly mentioned. 1967 was no exception. At Aintree, ritzy is hardly the word to describe the Grand National. Rugged is more exact. And this National was certainly that, and more. Look again at that fantastic pile-up at the jump after Beechers. Out of the shambles, one horse appeared, complete with rider, Foinaven, 100 to 1 outsider. But at the 23rd, it was chaos. Horses were going in all directions. Some jumped, some just clambered over the fence. But somehow, most of the runners got going again. A long way ahead, Foinaven, tired, slowing but unbeatable, ran for home and a £17,000 victory. It was quite a national. And at Epsom, the Derby provided its own special brand of excitement on the flat. It was a day of perfect going and superb racing as Australian jockey George Moore took Royal Palace to the front and kept him there. There's no doubting that a Derby is something really special for racing enthusiasts, just as the Cup final is for thousands of soccer fans. Spurs versus Chelsea, London's football derby, and Spurs into the lead. The second half, more magic moments for Tottenham. Just before the final whistle, Chelsea got a well-deserved goal. But it was all over bar the shouting. Tottenham Hotspur had won the cup. Grand teamwork had been rewarded, as it was at Toulouse, where test pilots Brian Trubshaw and André Turcat saw Concorde make its public debut. For Mr. Wedgwood Benn, Minister of Technology, and Monsieur Jean Chamon, French Minister of Transport, a very proud occasion. The Anglo-French brainchild, born out of the collaboration of two nations, was the envy of the world. The highlight of a year of highlights.